Okay, this is going to go along with solving quadratic equations. What you've learned before is factoring and what to do by using the box and factoring. Well, now there's a reason to use the factoring. We're trying to find the solutions to a quadratic equation. Okay, so the solutions of a quadratic equation. You should be writing it, like I said just a minute ago, on the blank portion on the back of that worksheet. Okay. Solutions of a quadratic equation. There are three of them. There are three types. You are going to find, let me see if I can draw in here my little curves here. Okay, these are the three types of solutions. Solutions are going to be where they cross the x-axis. Whoops, axis. Remember, the x-axis is right here at your horizontal axis. First off, in this, they're the types of solutions we have. In this case, they cross once, twice. So here there are two solutions. Another number of solutions we can have is if it just touches in one spot where there's one solution. Or if they don't touch at all, there's no real solution. So we're going to look on, first we're going to work on trying to find out by graphing and by factoring, finding out how many solutions there are and what those solutions equal. So on the front side of your sheet, we have this. It says, for each equation below, rewrite an equation in ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, which is standard form for a quadratic equation. Okay, so this is standard form. So you have to make sure that everything, all the numbers, all the x's are on the same side of the equal sign. Then we're going to write it in factored form, and then we're going to solve for the solutions. So first off, when I'm looking at this one, it's not in standard form yet. You have to move that negative 24. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to add 24 to each side. And I get 3x squared minus 18x. I'm going to remove my red line for a second right here. Oh, darn. Okay. Minus 18x plus 24 equals 0. That is standard form. That is what's going to go right here. 3x squared minus 18x plus 24 equals 0. Now we have to go and find it in factored form. So that means that we're going to have our parentheses and it equaling 0. So we got to go over here to the box. Well, first thing, to be able to factor it, you have to pick out and see if there's a GCF. What is the GCF in those three numbers? A 3. So I'm going to pull out a 3. And now let me write what's left. Well, this would be 3x squared divided by 3. So I've got x squared, because remember we're dividing each term by 3. Negative 18 divided by 3. Negative 6x. 24 divided by 3 is 8. Well, now we're going to take what's inside this parentheses right here and put it in the box. The x squared goes here, and the 8 goes here. Then I have something x, something x. You're only looking, remember what's inside in the black right here inside the parentheses. A is the number in front of x squared, which is 1. B is the number in front of x, which is negative 6. C is that number by itself, which is 8. Now you have to take A times C. 1 times 8 equals 8. I need the factors of 8. Now, we can go through and put it in the calculator. I'll remind you that. Okay, so one of the ways, even though 8 should be easy to figure out because it's a small number, you can put in your calculator 8 divided by x, press second graph, and look in your table. Well, it's always going to tell you an error at 0 because you can't divide by 0. Now I'm going to take, I've got 1 and 8. I need them that add up together to give me -6. Well, 1 and 8 is 9. 2 and 4 is 6, but I need it to be -6. So I need to look back the other way. There it is, -2 and -4. So the factors I'm looking for is -2 and -4. That's one of the mistakes that I find that people are doing, is that they're not looking at the positives and negatives. So I'm going to put -2 and -4. Well, now it splits up as x and x. X times what gives you -2. X, -2. X times what gives you -4. X is -4. So my factor form, remember, don't leave off that 3. Put that 3 in front of it. Then we have x minus 4 and x minus 2. There it is in factored form. Now we have to figure out how to graph it. So let's go in our calculator. I actually would put in there, first we want to check and make sure we factored it right. So you're going to put the factored form in there, 3x squared, the standard form one, minus 18x plus 24. And let's go down and put in here what we factored. 3 parentheses, x minus 4, x minus 2. We're going to press second graph. If we are right, what should our tables look like? Y1 and Y2 should be the same. So it is. So now I've got to look to graph it. So now I'm just going to press graph. How many solutions does this have? There are 2 solutions. Where does it look like it's crossing the x-axis? Looks like it's at 2 and 4, right? Well, if we look in the table, we should be able to figure that out. It says, does it say 2, 0? 2, 0, and 4, 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to our graph. We're going to put a dot at 2, 0, and then at 4, 0. Now, really, you should graph the vertex. What is the vertex? What does it mean? The lowest point or the highest point, right? It's the point where the parabola changes direction. Well, let's look here. We've got, it goes from 9 to 0 to -3 to 0 to 9. Oh. Well, remember, it's also, the other ones are symmetric points, right? Look, the 24s match up, the 9s match up, the 0s match up. 3 and -3. My vertex is 3, -3. So I'm going to come over here to 3, go down to 1, 2, 3, and put a dot. And now I'm just going to sketch my parabola. I want to see if I can make I wonder if I can do this. Oh, I chose a line. Yucky. Try again. I'm trying to be fancy. Kind of, I guess. It's not real great. All right, whatever. Here we go. We'll basically just drop. Hey, where'd that come? Go away. Delete. All right. Just sketch your graph. Okay, maybe the other one was better. Okay, so my solutions, my roots. Okay, down here I want you to write roots, solutions, and x-intercepts all mean the same thing. And those are right here, 2, 0 and 4, 0. I found them because that's where they cross the x-axis. Now, back in, old folks' days like myself, we actually had to factor it, and then you take what's inside the parentheses. So I would take this x minus 4 down here where it says work, x minus 4, and set it equal to 0. I would take x minus 2 and set it equal to 0. And we are going to have to do these when it comes to the fractions and decimals. Then you had to solve for x. You had to add 4 to each side. You get x equals 4. There it is, 4, 0. Add 2 to each side. X equals 2. Oh, there it is, 2, 0. Okay, let's look at the next one. First off, the first thing we have to do is put it into standard form. Okay? So if I go to put it in standard form, I have to move this 105 over. So I've got to subtract 105 from each side. I get 5x squared minus 20x minus 105 equals 0. Well, that's standard form. Now, I heard somebody say it just a minute ago, because you're supposed to, before we can factor, we have to pull out, look and see if there's a GCF to pull out. What number goes into all of those? 5. So if I pull out a 5, let me see what's left here. Divide every term by 5. Well, that gives me x squared, negative 4x. Oh, and what's that? Negative 21. Okay. So now we've got to go and put this that's in the black right there, put that into the box. Top left-hand corner goes x squared. Bottom right hand, negative 21. These two corners up here, something x, something x. We've got to figure that out. Remember, a is the number in front of x squared. A is 1. B is the number in front of x, negative 4. C is the number by itself, negative 21. A times C. 1 times negative 21, negative 21. Well, we need the factors of negative 21. So I go up here, and I'm going to put in the calculator. Maybe if it moves. There we go. Come on. All right, let me use this. Negative 21 divided by x. Second graph. What do I need my factors to add up together to be? Negative 4. So let's see. If I add 1 and negative 21, that's negative 20. That's decimals. That doesn't work. Oh, 3 and negative 7, that gives me negative 4. So I'm going to have 3 and negative 7. So now x squared splits up as x and x. X times what is negative 7x? Negative 7. X times what is 3? Plus 3. I really don't feel like calling out individual people's names right now that are not writing and doing what they're supposed to. So now I've got my factored form. I have my 5 right here. I've got x plus 3 times x minus 7 equals 0. Now we have to go in and check. Did we do it right? Don't ever go any farther until you check and make sure you did it correctly. So we go in here, and the standard form, I put 5x squared minus 20x minus 105. Now down here, I'm going to put in there the factored 5, x plus 3 and x minus 7. I'm going to press second graph. First, I want to make sure that it's right. Good. All of these are the two columns are the same. That's good. So now if I press graph, let's look and see where they cross. It looks like it's -3 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, but you want to check for sure. Let's look and see. Is it -3 and 0? Yes. And is it 7 and 0? Yeah, buddy, it is. So now I'm going to go over here, down to my graph, -3, 0, and 7, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, what did I tell you was the third point we had to find to be able to graph it? The vertex. So it's got to be in between these 2 points. Anybody see it? -80 and -80, those are partner points. -105 and -105. Yeah, it's 2 and -125. Guess what? We don't have -125 on our graph. So we're just going to make a big long sketch going, because I can't draw on this thing. A curve, whatever. Okay, so you're going to sketch your graph. Obviously, I didn't pass art. Now, my roots, remember, are the same as my x-intercepts. So it's -3 and 7. Okay, or we can write them as -3, 0 and 7, 0. Remember, by hand, we took x plus 3, set it equal to 0, x minus 7, set it equal to 0, and you can solve. X equals -3, add 7, x equals 7. The question was, if we put them on the graph, are they just the opposite? I'm glad you saw that. When they are just x's in the parentheses, like x plus 3 and x minus 7, they are just the opposite. The problem's going to be when we come up with factors that are 2x plus 5 and x minus 3. It won't just be the opposite when there's like, if it's an example like 2x plus 3 times x plus 4. Okay? This will be different. So I'll show you that here in just a sec. But when they are just the x's right here, then that is just the opposite. Let me look and see. So for example, let's go back to our blank pages for a second. If we had where we factored and we had this as our factored form, okay? You notice that this one says x plus 3, right? X plus 3 equals 0. I subtract 3 from each side. One of my factors is -3, which that matches with what you're saying. That's the opposite, right? But this one, 2x plus 5 equals 0. When I subtract by 5 to each side, 2x equals -5. If I divide by 2, I get x equals -2.5. Okay? So that's why I'm saying that we're going to have to make sure we know how to solve by hand, because we're going to have to find that out. I think that's coming up in one of the next ones. Okay, let's look at this one. I want you to take a minute and I want you to put it into standard form, and I'd like you to try and factor it right now. Okay, on number 3, what we're going to do is first we need to put it into standard form. Means I need to move the +9 or the -9 to the other side. So I'm going to add 9 to each side. I get 12x squared minus 39x plus 9, and that equals 0. Well, now I need to look and see. Well, let me go over here. Standard form. 12x squared minus 39x plus 9 equals 0. Now, is there a GCF to pull out? Yeah, 3 should go into all of them, right? 3, yeah. 3 will go into all of these. So I'm going to have 4x squared minus 30, no, not 30, 13, right? 13x plus 3 equals 0. Well, now I need to factor that right there. So I'm going to put 4x squared in the top right. Bottom right is plus 3. Something x, something x. Again, I take 4 times 3. 4 times 3 is 12. I need the factors of 12 that give me negative 13. You're going to find by putting the calculator, it's negative 1 and negative 12. So I have negative 1x and negative 12x. Another question that always comes up is, does it matter which box you put these ones in? No, it does not. What matters now, though, on this one, it has a 4x squared. So what matters is how we break it up. And to put the 4x squared, I can either have 4x times x or 2x times 2x. Those are my two options. Well, out of these two boxes, what is my greatest common factor? Does a 2 go into any of these? No. Okay, but an x does, so the x goes here. Well, then that means the 4x would have to come up here. Well, does a 4 go into both of these? Yes, it does. So this is how I have to split it up. So now x times what gives me negative 1x? Negative 1. 4 times what gives me negative 12? Negative 3. So now I've got, don't forget that 3 on the factored form, x minus 3 times 4x minus 1 equals 0. Remember, I said you had to check it. So, wrong button. There we go. Go to y equals. Put in there 12x squared minus 39x plus 9. 3. You have to have that parentheses or it's going to tell you that your factors are wrong. And 4x minus 1. Okay, second graph. They are the same. That means we are right. When I press graph, what does it look like my solutions are? Well, right here, it looks like it's a 3. And remember, we just talked about it. It'd be the opposite right here. But look, that's almost close to 0. Huh. If I look in the table, I've got 3, 0. Okay, that's great. So I can put a dot at 3, 0. Oh, I'm trying to do it with the mouse. That's why it's so crazy here. 3, 0. But the other one, I don't see another 0 anywhere. It should be up here somewhere. It's in between 1 and 0. Well, that's when we have to go back and show our work. Like when I was saying x minus 3. X minus 3 equals 0. Add 3 to each side. X equals 3. Well, okay, I know that we just found that one out in the calculator, and that's fine. 1, 2, 3. But the next one is 4x minus 1 equals 0. You have to add 1 to each side. 4x equals 1. Divide by 4. X equals, you can either write it as 1/4 or 0.25. Well, that's right in here. So my solutions are 3, 0. And you can either write 1/4 0 or 0.25 0. It doesn't matter. And then, let's see, I don't know if it showed us our vertex or not nicely. No, it's a large number. So then we can just sketch a parabola. Okay, really, this goes like much farther down. Okay. Move the calculator. Oh, maybe. I'm trying. There we go. Okay. We'll come back to some of these in just a minute, but I want to go a few more problems in. Okay, I'm waiting just a sec. All right. let's go right here. We're going to go to number 8 and 9, and it says that we need to solve with the calculator. Okay? Before you can solve for the calculator, what did I say that it had to be in? Standard form. So let's take 8 and change it into standard form. So we're going to do that by adding 12 to each side. I get x squared plus 7x plus 12 equals 0. Now, let's just go in the calculator and find our roots. That's all they want us to do. So, let's see here. We're just going to go in there and put x squared plus 7x plus 12. And let's press graph. Oh, it's in Y2. It doesn't matter which one. Okay, it looks like it touches 1, 2, -3, -4, somewhere in there. Let's look in our table, because you can't always rely on the graph. I know it's in the negative, so let's go backwards. And look, -4, 0, -3, 0. Those are my solutions. So I have x equals -4 and -3. You can write it like that. Or -4, 0, -3, 0. Do number 9. Go in the calculator right now and do number 9. First thing would be, is it in standard form? It already is. Good. So go to the calculator. Go to y equals x squared plus 10x plus 25. Press graph. The first thing you're looking for is, does it touch the x-axis? Yes, it does. Now remember, I told you there's one solution, 2 solutions, or no real solutions. So it only touches once, doesn't it? Yeah, it's only at -5, 0. The reason why this happens, let me see. The reason why this happens is that if you factored this, it would end up coming up to x plus 5 times x plus 5, right? Both of them, if you solved it by hand, or you solved it by hand, it would still be x equals -5. They're the same things that are in the parentheses. That's why there's only one solution. All right. Put in there, I'm going to pause for just a second. Put in there number 10 and 11 and find the solutions. Make sure they're in standard form first. Okay, on number 10, one of the things I find out is sometimes people try and move the x squared over. My suggestion to you is to always keep the x squared positive. So move the 10x and the -21. So I'm going to subtract 10x from each side. So I have x squared minus 10x equals -21. Add 21 to each side. You get x squared minus 10x plus 21 is 0. So you go to the calculator, your handy dandy calculator, and you put in there x squared minus 10x plus 21. Press graph. It looks like it crosses at -3 and not -3, +3 and 7. You have to double check and make sure it's not a decimal or a fraction. Sure enough, 3 and 7 are your solutions right here because it's where the zeros are. So it's 3 and 7. Is it -3? Sorry. Thank you. Trying to go. No, it's not -3. Right here, look. It's +3 and 7. Did you, now if you got -3 and -7, did you change and make it -x squared? Yeah, leave your x squared positive, move them to the left. Okay? So it's 3, 0, and 7, 0. Now the next one right here, there's only a couple, we're missing an X, but that's okay. Move the 27 over to the other side. So you get positive 3x squared minus 27 equals 0. You're saying you put a 0x? When you make what 3? This is A and C. B is, it's ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. B is the number that's with the x. There is no x term in this one. Okay? But all we need to do right now is set it equal to 0. Go in the calculator. Put in there, oh, go away, writing utensil. All right. Put in there 3x squared minus 27 and press graph. Well, it looks like it crosses at -3 and +3. Second graph. Let's see. Is that where it's crossing? Maybe. I see. Oh, there it is. -3, 0, and 3, 0. So those would be my solutions. Okay. Yeah. It'd be -3 and +3, which is the same as saying -3, 0 and +3, 0. Now, look at the next one. This one, you guys will definitely see on EOC tests, depending on whatever level you're on. It says the length of a rectangular park is 5 meters longer than the width. If the area of the park is 300 square meters, find the width of the park. Use X to represent the width. Write the equation and solve. It gives you a hint to draw a picture first. Anytime they talk about rectangular parks, anything, a box, a room, I always draw my picture. It says that the length is 5 meters longer than the width. We don't know what the width is, so we're going to leave that as W. So the length is 5 plus W. I know the area is 300. To write our equation, well, what's the formula for area? Yeah, area is length times width. So my equation is got to be, let's see, I can write it a couple ways. W times 5 plus W, length times width equals 300. Well, it wants us to find the width. Well, multiply right here. I've got 5W plus W times W is W squared equals 300. I'm going to end up switching around my W squared and stuff. It's no big deal. W squared plus 5W. Move the 300 to the other side and subtract. So you have to subtract 300 from each side. Now I need to, the easiest way to do this is put it in the calculator and find my roots. Find my solutions. So if I go over here, wrong button. If I go in here and put in there, maybe not right, there we go. Put in there x squared plus 5x minus 300 Why do I have all these? What's going on here? Let's try this again. X squared plus 5x minus 300. And I press graph. Let's look and see if the roots are on there. They may not be because of the Windows settings, and that's fine. Let's go to second graph. Let's find where y is 0. Okay, one of them is -20. So I've got -20. The other one, Well, I don't find another 0 up this way. If this last number is negative, one of them is going to be positive, one of them is going to be negative. You can use the box on this if you want to find your factors. I'm going to go down to the positives. It's 15. Oh, I just passed it. Yeah, it's 15, 0. So I have negative 20 and I have 15. Here's the thing. If I'm talking about width, which number can this not be? Yeah, can you have a width that's negative 20 feet? No. So the width is going to be 15. It's got to be the positive number that you're going to choose, because when we move this over and we had a negative right here, we're always going to get a positive root and a negative root. Okay, so let's look at this one. Exact same type of problem. It says the length of the swimming pool is 4 times the width. The length of the swimming pool is 4 times the width. The area is 256. Find the width of the pool using x to represent the width and write your equation. Well, draw a picture first. I don't know the width, so the width is x. The length is 4 times the width, so 4 times x. And the area is 256. Length times width. 4x times x equals 256. Now go and find your width. Do that now. You can put it in the calculator and find it. Don't forget to change it into standard form. Okay, so before you can put this one in the calculator, you have to set it equal to 0. So you have 4x times x minus 256 equals 0. You could make this 4x squared if you wanted to. I'm going to come in the calculator here, put in there 4x times x minus 256. Press second graph, and I'm going to look for my roots. You say it's what? Okay, so we've got 8. And what's the other one, though? 8 and negative 8? Okay, so if I went back there and looked at negative 8, and this is when you just have to search through there. You either have to factor or you have to search through it. Well, on these two factors, which one can it not be? Negative 8. So my width is 8. Why what? On the one before, we found 2 roots, but they just weren't the same number. And so we crossed out the negative number because you can't have it be a negative. No, you do not. 8 times 4, that would end up being the length. They want the width. The width is the x. Okay? Okay. Okay, on this one, it says the area of the triangle is given by the equation h squared plus 6h equals 27, where h is the height of the triangle. What is the value of h? We can go and put this in the calculator, but before you can do that, you have to move this 27 to the other side, where you would have subtracted 27 from each side of the equal sign, gotten h squared plus 6h minus 27 equals 0. Well, this one's a little bit easier because you don't have to search, really. You just put in there x squared plus 6x minus 27. Now, I can go and look at my table. One of the answer choices is 6. So let's look at 6. It says 6 and 45, so that's not the right answer. What about 8? 8 and 85. 9. 9 and 108. I hope this last one works. Let's go back to 3. Sure enough, 3, 0. So that means my answer is 3. You would look in the table to find where y is 0. Your next one right here. It says in the equation y equals 2x squared minus 5x minus 18, Which of the following is the value of x when y is 0? Well, it's already set into standard form. So go ahead and go into the calculator. Go to y equals. Put in there 2x squared minus 5x minus 18 and press second graph. Well, let's look and see. First, I see a 2. An easy one is the whole numbers. Well, it says 2 and negative 20. Nope, not it. Negative 18. Oh, geez. Okay. Keep clicking the wrong thing. Second window, let's put in there negative 18. Second graph. Nope, that's not it. I'm looking for 0. Well, second window for these decimals, I can put in there 1.5. Second graph. Nope, it's not it. Let's hope it's D again. Let's see. Second window, 4.5. Second graph. Sure enough, 4.5 and 0. So that means that is the correct answer. Now, make sure after you do that, you go back into your window settings right here and you start back at 0 so that your table still goes by the normal numbers, like from 0 to 1. Okay, let's go back to some of these beginning ones, the ones where we were practicing right here. Okay, so why don't you take a minute and pause the video and try and find out your, try and figure out in standard form, factored form, and find your solutions. Well, first, before you can even, when you have to move it to standard form, I have to add 65x to each side. I get 10x squared plus 65x minus 35 equals 0. So I'm going to put that over here. 10x squared plus 65x minus 35 equals 0. Now I've got to figure it out in factored form. Well, what number goes into all these? I'm thinking a 2 does not, because these are not even numbers. What about a 5? I think a 5 does. So if we divide out a 5 out of all of this, pull a 5 out, what do I get? I get 10 divided by 5 is 2x squared. 65 divided by 5 is 13x, I believe. And that is minus 7 equals 0. Now we need to factor in the box this. So I'm going to have 2x squared. Oh, that's why I didn't put an x squared right here. Minus 7, something x, something x. Well, a times c. 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. I need the factors of negative 14 that equal 13. Put negative 14 divided by x and look. You should have positive 14 and negative 1. So I'll put 14 here and negative 1. Does it matter which box I put these in? No, it does not. Now, to split 2x squared, it's got to go 2x and x. Well, out of these two boxes, what does 2 go into both of them? Yes, it does. So 2x goes here. The x goes up above. 2 times what gives you 14x? Plus 7. X times what gives you negative 1x? Negative 1. So my factored form is 2x minus 1 times x plus 7 equals 0. Well, now, remember the first thing you're supposed to do is go and check it in the calculator. Go to y equals. Put in there 10x squared plus 65x minus 35. And go down into y2 and check your factored form. 2x minus 1 times x plus 7. Second graph. Oh, what'd I do wrong? Oh, I see what I did wrong. I forgot to put the 5 down there in front. So I'm going to go second, insert 5. I forgot to put the 5 right here. So now when I go second graph, now they're the same, and I can find my solutions. Well, doesn't look like one of them I see is negative 7. All right, so let's go down here. The other one's going to be a decimal. So what we're going to do, we're going to come down, and to find my roots, I'm going to take 2x minus 1, set it equal to 0, x plus 7, set it equal to 0. Subtract 7 from each side, I get x equals negative 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Add 1 to each side. 2x equals 1. Divide by 2. X equals 1/2. And there's my parabola. Well, probably is a little longer than that, but that's okay. My x-intercepts would be 1/2 and 0 and negative 7 and 0. Let's try the next one. Okay, pause the video if you haven't done it yet and try it now. You're going to want to make sure that you keep your x squareds positive. It's just a lot easier that way. So we're going to add 27 to each side. I get 12x squared plus 27 equals negative 40. Oops, not negative, positive 45. Positive 45x. I'm going to subtract 45x from each side. I get 12x squared minus 45x plus 27 equals 0. So that's standard form. 12x squared minus 45x plus 27 equals 0. Now I need to factor it. Well, what number goes into all of those? I'm looking, I know I've got a 1 and a 12. 12 doesn't go into that. 2 does not go into there. No. 6 does not go into that. What about 3? I bet a 3 goes into all these. So I'm going to pull out a 3, and let me write what's left. 12 divided by 3 is 4x squared. Negative 45 divided by 3 is negative 15x. 27 divided by 3 is 9. Now, you're going to factor this and put this in the box. So I've got 4x squared and 9. Something x, something x. A times c, 4 times 9 is 36. I need the factors of 36 that give me negative 15. So if I go into the calculator, put in there, let me clear out these, 36 divided by x, second graph, and I need them that add up together to give me negative 15. Well, let's see, this one's negative 12. There it is, negative 3 and negative 12 add up together to give me negative 15. So I have negative 3 and negative 12. Well, 4x squared can split up as 4x and x, or 2x and 2x. Out of these two boxes, out of all 4 of these, what's the greatest common factor? What goes into both of these? An x. So if an x goes here, a 4x has to go up here. Well, that makes sense because 4 goes into 4 and 12. X times what gives you negative 3x? Negative 3. 4x times what gives you negative 12? Negative 3. All right, factored form. Don't forget that 3 like I did the last time. And I have x minus 3 and 4x minus 3. Well, for my roots, I'm going to take x minus 3, set it equal to 0, and 4x minus 3 and equal to 0. I'm going to add 3 to each side. X equals 3. Add 3 to each side. 4x equals 3. And divide by 4. I get x equals 3/4, or you can write it as 0.75. So I have 3 and I have 3/4. This part right here, this is just to fill in to, as you put in this factored form and the standard form, to check, to show that y1 and y2 are the same. There's another one. Go ahead and pause the video and do this one. All right, on number 6, to put it into standard form, we need to move the 5 to the other side. So I have to subtract 5 from each side. 6x squared minus x minus 5 is 0. There's my standard form. 6x squared minus x minus 5 is 0. Is there a GCF to pull out? Nope, there's nothing besides 1 that goes into all those. So 6x squared goes up here. Negative 5 goes down here. Something x, something x. A times c. A is 6, b is negative 1, c is negative 5. A times c, 6 times negative 5 is negative 30. The factors of negative 30 that add up together to give me negative 1, well, that's negative 6 and positive 5. And you can put that in the calculator to find it. Negative 6 and 5. Well, 6x squared can split up as 6x and x, or 2x and 3x. Out of these two boxes, which one of these is the greatest common factor? It would be 6x. And then the 1x would go up here. 6x times negative 1 gives you negative 6x. X times 5, positive 5, gives you 5x. So factored form, 6x plus 5 times x minus 1 equals 0. You're going to want to check it by putting it into y1 and y2. To find your roots, 6x plus 5 equals 0, and x minus 1 equals 0. This one's easy. Add 1 to each side. X equals 1. So one of the solutions is 1, 0. This one, minus 5 to each side. 6x equals negative 5. Divide by 6. X equals negative 5, 6. Here's the last one for this video. Pause the video and then come back and see how you did. All right, standard form. Subtract 98 from each side. You get 2x squared minus 98 equals 0. That's your standard form. Factored form. You have to pull out a GCF. A 2 will go into all of these. I get 2 times x squared minus, let's see, 98 divided by 2 is 449 equals 0. Well, x squared goes here, negative 49 goes here. Something x, something x. A is the number in front of x squared is 1. B is the number, see, remember it's ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. There is no x, so that means your b is 0. C is that last number, negative 49. A times c, 1 times negative 49 is negative 49. I need the factors of negative 49 that give me 0. Well, that's 7 and negative 7. Well, x squared splits up as x and x. This is plus 7 and minus 7. Factored form, don't forget the 2. 2 comes out. X plus 7, x minus 7 equals 0. For my solutions, I have x plus 7 equals 0 and x minus 7 equals 0. I subtract 7 from each side. X equals negative 7. Add 7 to each side. X equals 7.